Tom Barfield is now one of my colleagues at 365 Sports and Rogue Media Network, and he's got more than 40 years of broadcasting experience that he brings to the table and the microphone every single day as the host of the Tom Barfield Show. So, Tom, I know you're making time for us because you've got your own show, but thank you so much for joining me on a Monday.
Amy, thank you. And I was just telling these guys the momentum that your program has right now, it is off the charts. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, we're all jealous. We're like, okay, it took us, forever to try to get, 6 people to watch, and you're just blowing this thing up, and so everybody around here is jealous. By the way, I want to give you a little piece of info here that you can use. Our good friend, John Morris, today's his birthday.
Oh,
yeah. And I
nice.
told John that I would get you to sing on your show.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I will sing, but it will be off key. And I don't think you guys will want to listen anymore. And the rest of my listeners will jump off too. But happy birthday to John. I've told people over and over, John's the reason why I'm doing this right now, because he invited me on his show going back to April and was so kind to give me that platform and to also talk me up with Corey, our boss. So I appreciate John, and happy birthday to you, John. Tom, I feel like I can learn so much from you because I'm still getting adjusted to the camera. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. I know that being old means people know you from other jobs. So that's maybe one of the benefits of having been in the business for 30 years. I'm only at 30. You're at 40, my friend. So You've got built-in audience wherever you go too.
I'm just old. And this is relatively new to me. I started this piece of it back in February. So, I mean, this is still, I was like, show up with a hat on or whatever. We did radio. You didn't have to wear, you didn't have to wear a collared shirt and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so now I'm just, and you're right. Getting accustomed to the camera is a different animal, isn't it?
It is, although it's provided some fun moments early on, and the fact that I can now jump on your show or John's and Pete's as well, and I'm learning from you guys, but we're also a fun community. So I'm glad to be a part of Rogue Media Network. I know that you are big into the Texas sports scene, but also just the college football world right now is exploding in ways that we never could have anticipated 5 years ago, whether it's the financial aspect and the money that athletes are making, whether it's the college football playoff that is just pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into these major conferences, whether it's the conferences who continue to reform and reshape like an amoeba from 8th grade science class, whatever it is, every week it's something new. And I am really excited to get your reaction to the latest, which is that we've got a player in Dae'Quan Wright who, among a group of athletes, sued the state of Louisiana to try to get at least an injunction, a temporary injunction, so that he could earn another year of eligibility. And it's a little bit complicated, but all that to say that the new rule is now for college athletes, you get 5 years of eligibility. Well, he wasn't grandfathered in. That starts next year. And so he and a group of athletes in Louisiana sued the state to try to get an extra year. He's already on a practice squad. He's already on a preseason roster, first with the Eagles. He wasn't drafted, but he signs with the Eagles. Then he ends up with the Browns. He suits up for a preseason game this weekend, even while he's in the transfer portal, thinking this might come down the line. So Tom, in Baton Rouge, he gets this injunction, and he wants to go play for Lane Kiffin. So he's got to clear waivers from the NFL, which is a process. But honestly, he's already signed with Lane Kiffin, a coach that he knew from his time in college. I mean, there's so many ways that this plays out, so many ripple effects. But what's your reaction to a guy being on an NFL roster one weekend and then back in college the next?
It's a joke. It's an 100% joke. Look, in July, you had a judge in Colorado go, okay, since the NCAA is going to do 5 for 5, then I think those kids from the class of 2022 ought to get that 5th year. So they get the 5th year. Then a judge in Louisiana goes, no, you know what? The NCAA is fighting this, and they don't want to do that. So I'm going to put a restraining order on that 2022 class, and so they're no longer eligible. Oh, but if you had a TRO already in the works, and you can get a judge on any corner to sign one of those, then you are eligible. Oh, by the way, let's see if you don't make an NFL roster, then you can go get that 5th year. Amy, what are we doing to a great game? I mean, really, can anybody sit up and pay attention that you're screwing up a great game? In collegiate athletics right now, it's the wild, wild west. Do whatever in the hell you want to, or go find a judge who will let you. And that's where we are right now.
And it's, again, it's a one-off here or maybe a two-off in that it's an isolated couple of examples. But if it works, you could see where other athletes might jump into this or even down the road. And here's the question that I keep coming back to. Why would a college football player or a college athlete who has a limited window to try to achieve his pro sports dreams, in this case, football, why would you want to turn around and then go back to college? But the answer in a lot of cases, Tom, is money. And that's
100%.
What's changed everything. If you can make, I don't know, 500 grand going back to college for one more year, or in some cases, $1 million, and you're eligible, who wouldn't choose that?
Yeah, and it's probably more than that if you want to know the truth. So they're going to go get money, they're going to play, and they're probably going to improve their draft status for next season at the end of this year, unless they can figure out a way to get a sixth year. I don't know. I'm just being facetious. But no, I think that's 100% what it is. It's NIL driven. So they're going to go back. They're going to get another year. They're going to play college football. They're going to make a lot of money doing it as a hired gun. And then they're going to improve that. Hopefully they're going to improve their draft status for next year, for the next draft. I don't blame the player. I don't blame the player for any of this. Get what you can if they're going to do it. But there's got to be an adult in the room at some place to say, we're not going to do this anymore. And I don't know if it's when Congress gets back in September, they can get that bill passed and maybe we can create some normalcy. I don't know. I don't know if we can put the genie back in the bottle. I really don't know.
Well, when it comes to the money, there's no way. And I don't mind if you're going to be above board about what the money is for and where the money's coming from. What's bothered me is the NIL has turned into a thinly veiled pay-for-play scheme. And so it's an easy way to launder money or funnel money when it's not about endorsements. It's not about these corporate partners or boosters getting bang for their buck. Nah, it's just about how much can we get from boosters to then turn around and pay these athletes. So if you're going to be above board about it, fine, then say we're going to pay our athletes, which is kind of where they are right now. I think too, the NFL is a different animal, right? So they regulate everything, to the point where guys have to, they have to have their sneakers that are standard issue, or their helmets have to be a certain model. They can't just go off and wear whatever they want. They have standards and regulations for everything. So if this would become a pattern, well, then I think you would see the NFL step in and say, no, if you are, there's a chance that you might go back to school or you're in the transfer portal, well, then you can't be on a roster or something along those lines. Because think about it from the NFL's point of view, Tom. Do they get their money back? Do they get their roster spot back? I mean, what do they do after this guy's gone and he returns to college?
Yeah, and I don't know. Are these guys going to be on the 53? Are they going to be on the practice squad? Or are they going to be guys that are cut from that NFL roster? They're just still looking for a place to go. I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen because it's a copycat situation. He did it, so I'm going to do it. And so, and here we go. At some point, the NCAA, which has no teeth, has got to figure out a way to be able to rule. And when they do try to enforce their rules, some judge in Podunk Junction, wherever, issues a temporary restraining order and allows the kid to go do whatever he wants to do. That's got to stop. And I don't know how you stop it.
So it's interesting too, and you are the voice of Baylor baseball, so you see the college athletic spectrum from maybe a different perspective, right? Because college football is all about the money. It does filter into college basketball, men's college basketball, some women's programs, but for the most part, a lot of the money-making programs, those then turn around and fund the rest of the athletic department. How much are you seeing the Wild Wild West, as you call it, affect baseball, and whether it's a power conference or some of the other schools that you see in your travels? How does it trickle down to that sport?
It's huge. And that's where these ADs and these folks have got to go find dollars, Amy, because it's a pay for play type situation in all sports, even in the non-revenue sports. I mean, you mentioned baseball. I dare to say that those people in the SEC are writing huge checks for their rosters. I saw the story the other day that there's several football programs over 40 million. That's not the case in baseball. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of money being spent across the board in these P4s. It is a ton of money being
P4.
spent. Yeah, Power Four.
Yes.
But I call them P4. But you're seeing a lot of money spent. So where's that money coming from? And the other thing that we talked about a lot is there's X amount of dollars, right, Amy? So do you want facilities or do you want a roster? And you're right, by the way, it's not NIL. Never has been. These are employees of the university. I mean, they're professional athletes now. They are. And I keep going, okay, when are we going to start providing them health insurance and PTO and all that kind of stuff? Because, really, I mean, they're not going out to a car dealership and signing autographs on a Saturday afternoon for $500. They're not.
Mm-mm.
They're paid employees. They are, in a lot of cases, very well paid employees. You know that. And so, yeah, there's baseball players that are picking up big checks as well. And I don't know where that money's coming from. I mean, these guys are having to go out and get donors to pile up the money because it's an arms race right now. I mean, we got to build new facilities because people want new facilities, but we also got to pay them because they want their money. So they want their money. They want to play in a great place. So how do you do that? Well, I mean, who knows?
But in addition to that, it's become such a rat race because it's always about keeping up with whether it's your rival or you mentioned the P4s, so the other conferences. And we see that domino effect where one conference starts to invite new members and expand to a different region of the country. And so, okay, now another conference has to do it. And what I feel like a lot of college football fans don't know is that the decisions are not being made by the NCAA. The NCAA gets blamed for so much. It's out of their control. They don't have any bit of influence or impact right now. It is about the commissioners of these power conferences. And it's, as much as I believe that they will consider all the factors, what it looks like more and more is a money grab. The more playoff games you get, so whether it's healthy for the sport or not, the more playoff games you get, the more money you charge your broadcast partners. But then there's the trickle-down effect on the other side, right, Tom? Where if you are an athletic director or coach and you're recruiting or you're trying to find guys in the transfer portal and convince them to come to your school, if you can say to them, look, we were in the playoff. We might have been the 8th team in our conference, but our conference is so good. We had this many national TV games and we made the playoff. It's all about defining value in a different way. And I just don't know where the merry-go-round stops and people ultimately get so seasick that they're done with it.
I don't either. I mean, you make a great point, but somebody has got to be in charge. And I'm with you. The NCAA is not in charge. And again, you go back to the ruling in Louisiana that the NCAA sought an injunction. That injunction was granted. So now what? Well, let's make an end around. Let's get a temporary restraining order. And if we've already got that TRO, then that ruling doesn't affect us. So when they absolutely try to enforce their rules, they get sidetracked by some judge. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where we go or what we do. And I truly believe that a lot of it will kind of shove to the side, it once we start playing games.
Yes, always.
And part of me wants to, but part of me also wants to find a way to I don't know if you can fix it, but some kind of definition of this is what we can and cannot do. And I don't know if we're going to ever get there, but I think if they don't, if and you got people like Nick Saban that are trying. I mean, they really are trying. And if they can't figure that out, they're going to ruin a great game. They really are.
I think that's one of the byproducts that it really bothers me, that I hate the most, is that you have quality coaches and incredible educators and leaders and teachers and men and women who cared about the whole person, not just about the winning and the athlete or protecting their jobs and that whole rigmarole. But I do hate that it's forcing coaches out who just don't want to deal with it, right? I mean, there are some coaches, like, for instance, a Bill Belichick, and whether or not you think he should be in college, that's not really the point, but he dealt with general managers managers. He dealt with paying for rosters in the NFL. So this is not that different for him. But a coach like even a Roy Williams or a Jay Wright who left Villanova because he just didn't like where college sports were going. And I truly believe that's one of the reasons Nick Saban left is it's overwhelming, but it's also not the type of system he wants to be a part of. And now there's the conversation about whether or not the football playoff should expand. So I sometimes wonder, Tom, if I didn't care so much and it didn't bother me so much, just some of the principles and the way that it's going. I've got colleagues who just are along for the ride. They think it's hysterical and it's so funny and it's so much fun to cover it because it's insane. Whereas I feel like, no, it's getting out of control. We're doing a disservice to the athletes. But I guess if you don't care, you do really enjoy it a little more.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I'm gonna side with you. It's bothersome to me. I just think it's too great a game. I mean, you look at the pageantry of college football on Saturday. You don't get that anywhere else. I mean, you know me. I love high school football here in the state of Texas. I think it's the greatest football, amateur football that's played. Texas, it is. No, and there's no question. But there's no pageantry like college football. And what's happening is are they going to get to a point to where they can't back the thing up? I don't know. And that's what bothers me. And I'm not smart enough to know, Amy. I'm really not. I mean, I'm just a guy that likes to talk about first downs and touchdowns and, and that kind of stuff. This stuff right here makes me ill because I'm not smart enough to figure it all out. Don't want to know. You want to, quite frankly, know the truth. But we have to follow this because that's where we are in college football right now. We just don't know what is right, what is wrong, and is it going to be right or wrong tomorrow? Because it's changing just daily. I mean, and it's just a mess where we are in college athletics. And it's not just football. I know we're talking a lot about football, but it's a mess everywhere. I mean, across the board, we've got to figure this out. And because if not, you're just ruining a great game, in my opinion.
So before I let you go, I have to tell you a funny story. I was actually in Oklahoma this weekend, which I know can be sacrilegious for some Texans, but we did drive our Texas vehicle on faith up into Oklahoma. Now, I started my career like my play-by-play career and my sports career in Oklahoma. So it will forever be really important to me. But as part of my job in Woodward, Oklahoma, which is a 5A football school that's up near the Panhandle. So more cows than people, but they've got a lot of students in the area. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth on big time high school football. And I remember I drove into the Texas Panhandle and did was it 8-on-8? Or I don't know if they're still
6-on-6.
Six on six. Sorry. Yeah. I did some 6-man football while I was there, and I had never seen it before in my life. And so I was kind of getting a crash course. But yeah, for a couple of years, I traveled all over Northwest Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, Southwest Kansas. I did American Legion baseball. I did high school football, which is also so such a passion for so many families. And I did a lot of high school football in Oklahoma and Texas. And it really was an indoctrination for me, that and covering the Big 12, because that was back when Bob Stoops was at Oklahoma. And so they had won that national championship. And so I was part of kind of understanding it's different here. As a girl from the Northeast, it is different in the Southwest and the Midwest. So it was a neat experience for me, even though it was Oklahoma. Now I'm in Texas, so you have to accept me, Tom.
Yeah, no, but you know what? To your point, to a great degree, it's a way of life. I mean, it's that important. I mean, it really, really is. And I mean, there's a lot that's poured into it. Look at some of these Texas high school football stadiums. There's a $60 million stadium in Allen, Texas, and down in the greater Houston area where I think you're hanging out today. There's a ton of unbelievable facilities. We got one here in Waco for Waco ISD that's unreal.
We have a family member who coaches at Stephenville, and we went to visit him. They're defending state champions. Their high school football stadium looks nicer than the college stadium that's in town. It's amazing the money that's poured into it. So you're right about it being a lifeblood for many towns. It's their economy too. So it's their joy and it's their excitement, but it's also their economy and brings a lot of money in. So I love it.
I mean, I believe it or not, long story short, I worked in Stephenville. Love Stephenville. I was the play-by-play guy the first year that Art Briles was the head coach.
Wow.
In Stephenville. So yeah, that's just kind of connection
Yes,
there. But
very cool.
but to your point, it is incredibly important in a lot of places. And you're right. Those 5 Friday nights, those 5 home games on Friday night in the fall, incredibly important to those communities. It brings those communities together. It's really important.
So you can find Tom on his own YouTube channel, which is the Tom Barfield Show. And he's got 40 years of experience, a Waco native, voice of Baylor baseball, and just really an aficionado when it comes to Texas football and Texas, especially the high school sports. I'm excited to see that. This will be my first full fall in Texas. And so
you got to
have
come
you back
up
on the show. Yes, I would love that. It'll be so
Rogue, so Rogue 365, we got 4 high school broadcasts that we're doing starting this Friday night. So there's plenty of work, girl. There's plenty of work.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for taking some time. I know you're real busy. It's a crazy time of the year now, but it's good to see you, and I hope that we get to do it again, Tom.
Please, thanks. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much. And you got the great guy behind the scenes in Zach. I'm telling you, he's awesome, isn't he?
He is awesome. I'm glad I was able to steal him away. Thanks, Tom.
There you go. Have a great day.